taking you on a journey through the world of music, from old school hits and classics to today's biggest projects. The only station that covers heavy metal to hip hop and R&B and everything in between. The sound of the people is CTR.
Damn, that's a good intro if I do say so myself. Welcome everybody, CTR episode 10. 10 weeks. 10 weeks. I keep saying this on videos that I keep putting on Facebook and Instagram, but it doesn't feel like 10 weeks. Double digits, finally. Man, if you this is the first time you're listening to this podcast, like go back and listen to all the other episodes. I mean, just go check them out. Just because I feel it's changed so much since episode 1. I mean, I listened to episode 1 for a little bit yesterday, and it just sounds like I have no idea what I'm talking about or anything. At the time, it sounded like, well, to me, the first time I was trying, it sounded dead professional-ish. I mean, I said a lot, and I'm still trying to cut that down. I'm still trying. Eventually, it'll totally just disappear from this airwave. But as I say, 10 weeks. It doesn't feel like 10 weeks. All the intro videos that I made, I was just looking around episode 5. Don't worry, episode 6 is coming soon. Finally going to get that sorted out. Obviously, it takes a little bit more research in this. But just to see the way this community's grown in such a short time, the amount of people that are contributing to the videos, and this week is a great example, and we're going to get into that in a little bit. But first of all, once again, now that we are on it, I did it a little bit on episode 9 last week, but episode 10, I do want to say a big thank you to everyone who's supported, to everyone who's messaged me, to everyone who's liked the videos, to everyone who's shared anything on Facebook, to anyone who's joined the Facebook or Instagram pages. Thanks very much just for getting involved. It really means a lot. Always wanted to do this sort of stuff, and episode 10, just the beginning, but I felt like it was a big deal. I mean, celebrate the little things, you know what I mean? I celebrated, I've shared it when we got the first 100 views on the channel, so celebrating episode 10 of the podcast. As you can see, we're improving it week by week. Finally got an intro. Gonna keep building on that. Eventually I'm gonna get a camera. I'm gonna get everything. I'm gonna get a proper desk instead of me standing here, as I tell you every week, looking at my CDs. So yeah, one day, guys. I can't wait till this lockdown's finished as well, just because I want to do some interviews. I want to do some off-site recording, just everything. Maybe even expand the channel. Obviously, we just focus on mostly music and the news, a little bit of the news on the podcast. But maybe have a look into. Maybe dip into some films and all that sort of stuff. I know some of you guys have been suggesting that. I've been thinking about it as well, so don't worry. But before we get into what I asked you to all message me this week, I do want to talk about a little bit of news. Music news, don't worry. And the biggest news coming out of this week is, for me, I talk about this guy every single week. But it's not really about him. It's more of a bigger story in general, but it was mainly him that leaked it. 6ix9ine posted a video on Instagram talking about Billboard and mainly just charts in general. He posted a picture of, his numbers. He's been streaming numbers ever since that song came out this week, and absolutely insane numbers. I believe it's up to a combined on every single social media. I think it's a combined 500 million views and lists and sharing it. Everything like that. I think it broke the records all when it came out and everything. So you would think that on the first week with such a big success, he would be number 1, and the answer is no, he's not. And he posted this. Apparently, when artists get when they're getting close to the top 10 or the top 5, they get a bit of a notification off the Billboard charts and the record labels. And he sort of shared a bit of information from behind the curtain, where it was artists. Obviously, we all know artists. Sell bundles. Drinks and stuff, and with drink you get an album that counts as a sale. But even with all that, apparently the record labels were complaining to Billboard that they didn't want 6ix9ine to be number 1, or they were complaining that their artist was number 5, and the Billboard would just jump them up. Now, to me, this is a bigger deal than I think a lot of people think it is, because if you can't trust charts, then especially in the mainstream sort of the area, how are you going to get information about music? There's a lot of shows dedicated to charts. This is called CTR, but I wouldn't say I was dedicated to charts. I do take a little bit of a look into it every so often. But when I say CTR, I like to build our own charts, like I've been doing for the past couple of weeks. Best albums of the 90s, noughties, whatever's. But when it comes to, like, Billboard, Spotify, Radio 1, the Vodafone Big Top 40, like, how can you trust them? How can you trust them if this is going on? Like, say if, I don't know, let's use 6ix9ine as an example. Obviously, he's a big name. He's not liked by the mainstream media as much as, let's say, an Ariana Grande or a Drake or even The Weeknd. I mean, shout out to all those people who are doing the thing. But, as I say, 6ix9ine this week posted all them numbers, all, like, record-breaking content. So you're telling me he's not number one? How is that possible? If you look at the streams on Spotify, Apple Music, on YouTube, his views and his listens are like double of, like, the other three in the top three combined. So I'm not sure how that works. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't understand how they can put across this narrative. Oh, we present, the most accurate not podcast. Well, they do podcasts on it as well. Yeah, we present the most accurate podcasts and listings and charts in the world. This is the official chart. This is with Radio 1 as well. This is the official chart. And if you've got to think, if a massive company like Billboard are doing it, who's to say Radio 1 aren't doing it? Who's to say, as I say, the big top 40 aren't doing it? It's a bit of a joke. I, for one, do look at the charts every so often because it just interests me. I mean, not to say that I'm interested in every single song in the chart. I just like to see, where people are getting posted in the chart. And now, I don't think I'm going to be doing that anymore because you just can't trust it. I mean, numbers don't lie, and I think in the future that's what I'm going to be focusing on. Because I do enjoy looking at the charts, but if it's just a list of just bullshit, and like bulletins coming up going, oh, this guy's just made it to number one, just outlasting blah blah blah. Last week he's not number one anymore. What if he is number one? What if they've just decided, oh, he's been number one for a bit too long now. Oh, this new guy, he's getting a lot of publicity. Let's make him number one. Let's boost his notoriety. Let's boost his music. Just because the record labels have either paid him off or use these bundles, which I'm not a fan of at all, by the way. DJ Khaled was a big example of it last year, selling bundles to sell his album. I mean, don't get me wrong, like Father of Asad is a great album, but he was complaining that he wasn't number one because he sold loads of albums and his bundles sold more. I mean, and this is a massive example as well. Apparently, Sony Entertainment with Ariana Grande in this news article that I was reading a little bit up on, a big like proprietors of like selling the bundles, like getting let's say for example, if Ariana Grande is bringing out an album, they'll bring out like perfume or DVDs or box sets or drinks, so and they'll market that, they'll sell it, and apparently they do this quite a lot, and 6ix9ine noticed it as well. This is with a lot of the big record labels. I'm not just focusing on Sony now, but in the 24 hours before, apparently this is illegal as well. They posted 60,000 just like hits out of nowhere, and apparently that's illegal. As I say, I'm not an expert on how you're supposed to post your numbers and when you're supposed to post your numbers into the chat, but if it's illegal, then how is that going to be allowed? How surely who does that benefit in Billboard to damage the reputation and accept? Well, but it's bribes, isn't it? Really, to accept bribes. But yeah, as I said, I'm not gonna focus on it a bit too much. Just wanted to bring it to people's attention that maybe don't trust the chart as much as you think. A lot of people think the charts are very accurate. I mean, I was one of them, especially with Radio 1, but I'm not going to trust it anymore. But some good news. A lot of you may know, because we focused on it a couple of weeks ago on I think it was like episode 7, maybe, of the podcast. Joyner Lucas's album that came out with Will on it, as in the song Will. Well, on Friday, just gone, he just posted a remix of Will featuring Will Smith, and I cannot tell you how gassed I am about this song. Will Smith just absolutely just fucking came out of the blocks, just like I don't know where this came from. I mean, I don't know if I should be shocked by Will Smith's like rapping ability. We all know he could rap. I mean, here's a little known fact for you. I don't know if you know this. Will Smith was actually, along with DJ Jazzy Jeff, when he was under the name Fresh Prince. Will Smith and Jazzy Jeff were actually the first rappers to ever receive the Outstanding Performance in Hip Hop Grammy. There's a little fact for you. But you didn't know that. So it's no surprise to me that he can rap. What surprised me was, obviously, 90s Will Smith. And if you listen to this song, now Will Smith sound completely different. I mean, he's able to keep up with a guy like Joyner on this track. And for me, he impressed me so much that I want another Will Smith album to come out in 2020. Like, 100%. He also fired a little bit of... Well, this is speculation. I really hope it was a shot, because if it wasn't, I mean, it's 20 years on, but it would be funny. Do you remember when the real, I think it's Slim Shady? I think it's the real Slim Shady where Eminem was like, Will Smith doesn't have to cuss in his rap to sell records. Well, I do, so fuck him and fuck you too. Well, in this song that he was just in on Friday, he was like, yeah, I sold 60 million records and I didn't have to cuss to sound fresh. And I'm like, ooh, okay. So my little pick for this year, I want to see a battle between Eminem and Will Smith 20 years later to settle a beef. That's 20 years in the making. Can you imagine that they both brought out diss tracks at each other? Eminem hears this and he goes, oh, I ain't fucking having that. How dare you respond to me 20 years later? I fucking shit all over MGK. You responded to me 6 years later. Fucking, please let that be a thing. I mean, Will Smith doesn't seem like the guy to hold grudges or like, or anything, but like Eminem sort of like did him dirty in like the early 2000s. I mean, as I say, I'm a pretty big fan of Will Smith when it comes to music, when it comes to movies as well, but like his songs are amazing. So battle rap, Eminem versus Will Smith 2020, get that on the books. That'll be bigger than Fury versus AJ. That'll be bigger than Mike Tyson's coming back to boxing debut. 100%. By the way, have you seen that? Mike Tyson looks like a fucking beast, man. He looks like an absolute beast. But we'll go into that, I mean, maybe in another episode. But we're not talking about boxing. We're talking about music. And speaking of music, Will Smith aside, amazing. Go check that song out. But now, we got to get into the top 10 best artists of all time. I'm going to do your guys' first, just because I had a plan. I had such a good plan for this episode in terms of I'm gonna get all the people's list together. I'm gonna see who was mentioned the most. I'm gonna put that into a top 10, and then I'm gonna rank that till like 10-1, and like that all just went completely out the window. Mainly because of the amount of people from different generations, from different tastes in music, all got in touch. I mean, don't get me wrong, with the top 10s that we've been doing lately, like there was quite a few people getting involved, but Jesus, like there was too many lists to compile. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go through one list at a time. I'm going to give everyone who contributed a shout out, just to give them a bit of credit. Like before we do the list, I'll give them a shout out, and then we'll talk a little bit about a couple of artists that they mentioned on the list. Like I had a load of mates contribute. I had like a family affair. Like everybody, like loads of people from a family contributed. Like my nephews, my uncles, the ma and the pa. Everybody contributed. Everybody. But first, we're gonna start with Cash. Big shout out to Cash, by the way. He's contributed to every single list that we've talked about in the 90s, the 90s, and the 90s, the 90s, and 2000s. It's the exact same thing, Reese. What are you doing? The 90s, the 90s, and the 10s. He contributed to every single one of those, and he's contributed this week, coming in with a really good list for me as well. Like, he's very hip hop centered. That doesn't surprise me when it comes to Cash. So I don't know if this is in any particular order. I mean, it doesn't look like it is, because I honestly don't know how you would choose between these guys. But like, I'm just gonna read them out. We got Tupac, we got Biggie, we got Snoop, we got Ice Cube, we got Eazy-E. Big shout out to Eazy-E. We got DMX, we got the Wu-Tang Clan, we got Nas, we got 50 Cent, and we got Cypress Hill. Now, Cypress Hill, this is the first one I'm going to be talking about. Cypress Hill, for me, is like a sleeping dog, like a dark horse of like any person's list. And I'm surprised it never really got mentioned in the 90s top 10 for me, and the 90s top 5 for you guys. Because Cypress Hill made some really good albums. Cypress Hill in general, like in terms of like Latin hip hop, pioneers, like absolutely completely different sounds to anybody. 8Ball is an amazing rapper. Just the whole vibe of Cypress Hill is fantastic. I love Cypress Hill. But yeah, obviously he's got the big hitters like Tupac and Biggie. 50 Cent we've talked about a lot on this. Ice Cube finally getting some love and recognition in some of these lists, just because I think he got done dirty in the 90s when he, like, you know, just not making it into the top 5. But Ice Cube finally getting some love, so big shout out to Ice Cube there. Eazy for me. I mean, what can I say about Eazy that I'm not gonna do? By the way, I'm gonna, as I say a couple of weeks ago, I'm gonna start doing you know, focus on certain people's careers, like videos on that. Eazy is definitely gonna be one of those people, mainly because he's one of my favorite artists of all time, if not my favorite artist of all time. Bit of a spoiler there for you for my list, but Eazy, it's great to see him coming in on, you know, a different list to, you know, compared to my list, where it's like, it is like mostly hip hop centered. Like, to see other people mention my favorite artist of all time is like, I love to see it. That him get the recognition that he deserves, you know, from other people. So yeah, big shout out to that. I'm just having a look at other people. DMX, man. DMX is absolutely amazing. DMX is one of those guys where I feel kind of bad what happened to him later on in his career. I mean, he spent a lot of time in jail in the noughties, and then it came to like the 2010s, and then he was sort of past it. So, but DMX in the 90s, like, yeah, one of the most unique voices, man. Like, he was like sort of like an Eminem and a Method Man combined, if you know what I mean. Like, the skill and the rap of like Method Man combined with, like, you know, the ferocity and the intensity of Eminem, you know, in terms of character. Because DMX had that sort of style and that voice where it made you pay attention. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, so big shout out to DMX. Moving on to another list. And it is my own mother who contributed here. Big shout out to my mum here, like, contributing. Fantastic. I love this list, by the way. Really showing, and this is a really good thing about these lists as well. It really shows like the different generations of people who are into music, because we move from like hip hop and, like, you know, the noughties and the 90s to like the late 70s and the early 80s. It really shows where and when people grew up and what they were into when they were growing up. So I'm going to go down this list now. Let's have a look. Give me 1 second. Here we go. Yeah, so we've got UB40. What can I say about UB40? UB40 are amazing. Simply Red. Simply Red for me. Oof. Simply Red. I don't shit on Simply Red too much. I'm not the biggest fan of Simply Red. I know a lot of people, even my age, that are really into Simply Red. Like 100%. I've never really been a fan of him, but I suppose that's maybe because I've not heard a lot of the music. I won't lie to you, like I've not gone out of my way to, you know, look for Simply Red music, but the stuff I've listened to is like, you know, I don't hate it and I don't love it. So, like, you know, I'm a bit indifferent, I suppose, in terms of Simply Red. Human League though, coming up next to Human League. Once again, I don't know if this is any in, like, you know, particular order. But Human League for me are amazing. Don't You Want Me Baby, but for me, Fascination is my favourite song by the Human League. Phil Oakley by himself as well. Electric Dreams, really good song. Big shout out to the Human League. I love the Human League. I would, do you know what? The Human League are an interesting group to me in terms of a lot of people, and this sounds weird because they're a massive band, a lot of people forget about them. Especially for my generation, even the people that are into music from that era in my generation forget about how good the Human League was and how much of a great voice Phil Oakley had. Let's have a look. We have got the Eurythmics. The Eurythmics have been mentioned quite a lot on different people's lists, and more so to the point where, like, people were messaging me going, I've done my top 10, and then people messaging me like, I can't believe you only made it a top 10 because I really want to put this and this. And the Eurythmics were mentioned quite a lot in those in that conversation, where it was like, I really wanted to put the Eurythmics in, but like I had this and this that I wanted to put in. So shout out to the Eurythmics for at least getting on a couple of lists here. The Jam, what can I say about the Jam? The Jam for me really like broke up at like a weird time where you went from the 70s to the 80s, and they broke up in like 1979. So that was really where music was starting to change, and I think Paul Weller, as an artist and as a producer, really saw that and like really had to, you know, change up his ways. And obviously because he joined the Style Council, he formed the Style Council like a little bit later on into the 80s. Big shout out to the Jam. Big shout out to Paul Weller. Down the Tube Station, probably one of my favourite songs by the Jam. Going Underground, amazing. Town Called Malice, great. Probably the epitome of the mod scene in the early 80s, and obviously in the 70s as well. The Jam. What can you say about the Jam? If you don't know who the Jam are, shame on you. Go and listen to them. 100%. Who have we got here? Soft Cell. Soft Cell for me, I don't really know any songs by Soft Cell apart from Tainted Love, which I suppose is a bit of like, shame on me, I suppose, because Soft Cell, like, I don't know, Soft Cell are really, really like big in people's, like, as I say, they're a bit like the Eurythmics. A lot of people said I really want to put Soft Cell in my top 10, but Soft Cell really good. I'm really glad Soft Cell got a mention, just because I think 100% they deserve it. Let's get into. I'm going to start moving on a little bit quicker because I'm never going to get through this list. I told you there was quite a lot. So hang on. Let's have a look. Soft Cell. Let's have a look. Oh, Luther Vandross. Shout out to Luther Vandross. I found out Luther Vandross when he passed away, and I was really surprised when he did. Like, he wasn't even that old when he passed away. Shout out to Luther Vandross. One of the best at making, romantic, like, love songs, like and even like club music as well. So shout, like, in that generation. So shout out to Luther Vandross. Let's have a look. And this is a really good one for me. David Bowie is going to be mentioned a lot of times in this list. Really a guy who epitomizes an artist who can switch up his style and switch up really what he brings to the game. As in, I mean, he was around forever. He was around in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 90s, even up to the 10s. And he never really stuck to one lane, which is what made him so successful. Like, David Bowie is, in my mind, the epitome of someone who can change his style and really stay relevant in terms of his music. So David Bowie is mentioned quite a lot on these lists. I'm not going to go over and over and over and over, people's. If I see David Bowie mentioned on, like, multiple lists, I'll mention his name, but I'm not gonna go into it every single time I see his name. And this is a really interesting one for me. And this is a really good example when you're talking about artists of all time, like, because you're really looking at their career and the whole discography. If you don't know what that means, by the way, that's, the whole body of music, the discography. Early Madonna, fantastic. I mean, I'm not a fan of the music, but I can respect what she accomplished. Like, obviously, when she was huge in the 80s and the 90s. Madonna, then, absolutely fantastic. You can't take nothing away from her at all. Madonna now, and let's say in the 90s as well, not the biggest fan at all. Mainly because I feel like we just talked about David Bowie in terms of someone who was able to, really change up his style and not stick out as somebody who was, try to steal the spotlight or try to, like, pretend he was something he wasn't. I really got that vibe from Madonna in the 90s, like, just because Madonna is a culture vulture. Well, let's just call her a culture vulture. I mean, she jumps on loads of people's songs. Her attitude, like, lately. I mean, do you remember that story a couple of years ago? I think it was like 2018, where, like, she snogged Drake and, like, literally just, like, totally just harassed him on stage. And Drake went all these interviews just going, what the fuck? Like, this 60-odd-year-old woman just, like, disgusting. But let's focus on Madonna in a prime. In the 80s, absolutely massive. You may remember Live Aid. She was one of the biggest acts in Live Aid as well. That was a really good performance. Madonna, for me, was really the original to Britney Spears in terms of someone who can, sing, dance, the whole 9 yards. Her concerts, I suppose, I mean, I've never been to one personally. I've never been to a Britney one either, but, like, I've been told, like, that her performances and her, like, live shows are more of, like, a massive just show in terms of, like, it's not just music. There's fireworks going off, there's dancing, there's everything. Like, it's not just focusing on a voice. So Madonna was really the pioneer in terms of people like that, as I say, like, and then the torch was picked up by Britney Spears. So big shout out to the mother, 100%. I really appreciate you getting involved. She said if I didn't give her a shout, she wasn't gonna listen to me ever again. So, shout out. big shout out again. As I say, my uncle, once again, another family member getting involved there. A very similar list. As I say, we've got the Jam. Oh, they've got the Specials. The Specials, once again, another like pioneer of like the early 80s and like 70s music. In terms of British. Same with Madness as well. Bit controversial, and I say this a lot. I don't like Madness. I don't know why. And at the same time, I don't know why people like them. I just think it's the music is very lazy. I'm probably gonna have the shit kicked out of me for this. Like, yeah, Madness are really lazy, but no, I just don't like Madness at all. Suggs as a person, I think Suggs is really funny, but I just wasn't a fan of the music whatsoever. I really wasn't. So I'm sorry to any people who love Madness out there. Beautiful South was mentioned. I keep going back to this once again, like just not making it into people's top 10s. The Beautiful South was really good. I really like the Beautiful South. Rotterdam, really good tune. A Little Time is really good. A Little Time. The Beautiful South for me are a group where if they'd have come out at any point, apart from when they came out, I still think they would have done really well. Mainly because of the style that they had, and like the capability to. It's sort of like a little bit of a soft sort of country sort of style mixed with, a bit of an 80s vibe. I think that really comes across well in like different generations of music. I mean, you see it today with people doing. I mean, like a big one like Post Malone, for example, someone who can do like sort of like a hip hop sort of performance like most of the time, but then he can switch it up and get on the acoustic guitar and like make like a love song. The Beautiful South to me are a big example of people who can do that and like are not just focused on one genre and not just focused on a specific type of music. So Beautiful South to me is a big shout, and I'm surprised that a lot more people did not mention the Beautiful South and put them actually into the top 10. Let's have a look. We've got Paul Eaton, very good. Jackie Abbott, really good. We've got Ordinary Boys, really good. We've got Paul Weller, obviously we mentioned him. I mean, and UB40, mention them as well. Can't say enough about UB40. UB40, I love UB40. I mean, if you don't know what UB40 means, I believe it was the unemployment card that he got given at the time. In the early 80s, I believe that's what it was. Because I think it's changed now. I mean, I've never been in that position, so I'm not really sure. But UB40, you got given that when you was unemployed and you had to go and sign on. I believe that's what it was. Obviously, that was pretty rife in the 80s, but with in the UK, especially with like Margaret Thatcher selling off all of the mines and everything. I don't want to get into that, but like, yeah, UB40, absolutely fantastic. Kingston Town, I Can't Help Falling in Love with You, really good tune. I Got You Babe, the remix that they made, really good. I really like that song. Red Wine, how can I go without mentioning Red Wine? Red Wine. The more I say red, it sounds more weird. But yeah, Red Wine, probably the biggest song that they made. My favourite song by UB40, as I say, either Kingston Town or I Can't Help Falling in Love with You. So big shout out. The 80s getting a big mention here for a couple of people, but switching it completely up. I literally cannot go from one side of the spectrum to the other side of the spectrum, and as I say, it really shows in like people's like ages and like the different people that are in this community contributing. Go right to my mate Liz. Shout out Liz. She also has a custom shoe shop. I'm just gonna give that a quick shout out. Free little plug there for you, Liz. Go check out her Instagram, Little Writer Customs. You may have seen her shared that on my stories on Instagram on my personal page, so you might have seen that. I know some people have got in contact with me about that. Gilly, as well. I sent you the menu. If you're listening to this right now, I sent you the menu. So get back to me, dickhead. Shout out to Liz. Sent a completely different list over. I'm just going to say, by the way, Liz has put 3 of the same. So let's just say 3 of the same in her top 10. And when I say that, if you don't know much about the genre that I'm about to talk about, then I'm going to explain it to you. You've got Camila Cabello. Camila Cabello is, for me, one of the best singers of this generation to come out. And I'm going to probably say that about her bandmate that I'm going to talk to about in a couple of minutes. Camila Cabello, Absolutely fantastic voice. She has a very unique voice for me, and it's like, oh, how do I say this without sounding horrible? Camila Cabello has a voice where it works on certain songs and sometimes it doesn't. She's got a massive following. Like, don't get me wrong, huge following. I'll never like discredit her music or anything, but yeah, sometimes a voice on like certain tracks really doesn't hit it for me. But yeah, fantastic. One of the best voices come out of this generation of like, let's say 2009 to like 2020. Really grown as a singles artist. Obviously, she was in Fifth Harmony, along with someone else I'm going to talk about now, Lauren Haregi. I think I've said that right. Lauren Haregi. Was also in Fifth Harmony. If you don't know who she is, she makes a little bit like poppy music. So I know some of you guys won't be into that, but like, don't pay attention, to the music. Pay attention to the voice. In terms of how good of a voice she has, I think like for me, and I was actually having this discussion with Liz as well while she was making this top 10. I think for me, Lauren Haregi's got a better voice than Camila Cabello, which she strongly disagreed with me, but whatever. I think she's amazing. And don't start judging me, guys. I listen to all sorts of music. Shut up. Don't fucking come at me and go, hey, hang on a minute. You talking about 90s hip hop before? What's all this about fucking Fifth Harmony? Shut the fuck up. Like, listen, you shut the fuck up, yeah? I listen to all sorts of music. Be quiet. And this is the third one, which is pretty much the same. Liz has put down Fifth Harmony as well in her top 10. She has put others as well. I'm going to get to them. Don't worry. But I just wanted to talk about these three at the same time. Mainly just because it's exactly it's pretty much the same. They came from Fifth Harmony and they split off to form their own singles careers. Like Fifth Harmony, obviously you may know the American X Factor. I think it was the American X Factor or the American The Voice. I'm gonna get fucking slayed for not knowing that by a certain person, and that certain person is the one who sent this listen to me. So you're probably going to fucking rip my head off if I don't know that. I'm sorry. I think it was the American X Factor. I think. I'm going to put my chips on X Factor, yeah? I'm going to gamble. I'm going to put all the chips and going all in and saying American X Factor. And if I'm wrong, then, whatever. But yeah, you might know that Fifth Harmony split off, and you had Camila Cabello, you had Lauren Haregi, you had Normani. Normani, you might know, if you're into that sort of music, was just recently in a song with Sam Smith, Dancing with a Stranger. Don't just take her for that, by the way. She has quite a successful singles career herself. So I won't lie to you, I don't know the other names of the members of Fifth Harmony because I'm not the biggest fan. I don't follow them. But another person that was on the list was Madison Beer. Madison Beer for me. Is an artist that a lot of people sleep on in terms of like how the fuck is she not as big as other people right now that are in the game. Madison Beer has a fantastic voice, really good singles. She has a song called Fools. I really love that tune. She's got a song with Offset. Go listen to Madison Beer on Spotify. I won't talk about her music much just because I know you guys don't know much about her, but if you really want to get an experience of who Madison Beer is, I would describe her as not as poppy, not as like R&B as like a Camila Cabello or a Lauren Haregi. I describe her as sort of in the middle of sort of like trap hip hop mixed with a bit of R&B, a bit of a sassy R&B artist. Madison Beer is us. She's only young as well, so she's got a lot of time to like be in this industry. So shout out to Madison Beer, absolutely amazing artist. I really like her, and if you like her as well, then that's good, and then I've led you in the right direction, haven't I? Billie Eilish is also on her list. Billie Eilish, so controversial for me. Billie Eilish, you can really hear that she's got a good voice. You can hear it, like especially in do you know the James Bond theme song, No Time to Die? I believe the song's called. It makes sense because that's what the film's fucking called, Reese. Go listen to her in that. Like for most of it, she's doing a classic, sort of like whisper singing, which really, really like is like controversial for me in terms of like it's a totally different style and it's something that you don't see other people do. So shout her out to Billie Eilish doing that. But at the same time, I think it really holds her back in terms of her voice. As I say, at the end of that song, she really like sort of breaks out of the whisper sort of singing and really goes like into like a really high note that you can hit, and she hits it perfectly. So I'd really like to see Billie Eilish do more of that. If you want to talk about Billie Eilish, Bad Guy, I quite like that song, but apart from that, it's Oh, I don't know. I don't know about Billie Eilish. To me, I think her music could be so much better, and like she just needs to get to that point, as I say, where she you don't just rely on a specific type of singing. But like, fair play to her, well done. Like she's absolutely smashed it, especially in the past 2 years. Like, I mean, you look at like all the music that's still in the charts. I mean, the controversial charts we were talking about, but still, her song "Bad Guy" is like 52 weeks still in the top 40, especially on in the English top 40. So, you can't discredit her music. I mean, like, fair enough. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, Billie Eilish is absolutely killing it, and she's only young as well. So she's only a bit like Madison Beer. She's only young, and she's got only like tons and tons of time to grow. So, well done to her. Moving on to another person that's on the list, and another person that another person that I have to talk about that I'm not a big fan of, Shawn Mendes. Shawn Mendes. What can I say about Shawn Mendes? He makes music. Okay, moving on. No, I'm joking. He's with Camila Cabello at the minute. In my opinion, I think that's sort of like a Kanye West, Kim Kardashian thing at the start, where like it's like a fake relationship. But I don't want to get into that. Shawn Mendes. I'm really trying here, guys. I'm like, Liz, and I'm doing this for you, yeah? I'm doing this for you. I'm really trying to find like a positive thing to say about Shawn Mendes. He's not got the worst voice I've ever heard in the world. I think for a certain type of people and a certain type of like fans, kids love him, like women love him. Yeah. Can we please move on from Shawn Mendes? I don't want to talk about him anymore. I'm so sorry. Right, moving on to someone who I'm more familiar with, Khalid. Khalid, again, a bit like Billie Eilish for me, is another one where it's like his like type of like voice and his music is so unique that you can't discredit him. Like, it sounds amazing on certain songs, and then like you listen to others and you think, wow, switch it up a little bit. Do you know what I mean? Like I can hear that you've got a great voice. I mean, the one that I did with Ed Sheeran, Beautiful People, fantastic. The one that he's got out lately, Find Someone Who Loves You at Your Worst. I can't remember the name of that song. That might actually be the name of the song. Terrible. I hate it because he sounds like he's crying in it all the fucking time. It's really annoying. But then he jumps on a song like East Side, as I say, or Beautiful People, or the Logic song, the one where it's just like a number. I can't fucking remember it. He sounds amazing on him. So I don't know where I'm at on Khalid. Khalid, for me, Ed Sheeran has gone on record and said he's one of the most talented artists he's ever worked with. So that's got to stand for something. Ed Sheeran, for me, holds a lot of weight in the music industry, like 100%. I do think he's one of the best of this generation, maybe one of the best of all time in terms of the capability to write music and the capability to constantly switch up his style, constantly like switch up the genre that he's making, and constantly stay relevant with the people. I mean, he's been going since like 2009, 2010. I remember listening to Ed Sheeran's 18 when I was on work experience in year 10. So that's how long he's been going for. So for someone like Ed Sheeran to say Khalid is like a fantastic artist, and you know what I mean, it's a lot of weight for me. Let's have a look. Who else has she got on her list here? Right, I don't want to talk about Arizona because I don't know a lot about Arizona. A lot of people I've mentioned it to me. You should listen to Arizona. Liz is one of them who has said listen to Arizona. I've heard of him, but I don't know much about him. Maybe that's my bad. Maybe I should go and listen to him. Liz, if you're listening. She actually made a Hayley Kiyoko playlist. That's also on her top 10 list, by the way. Hayley Kiyoko is really good. She made a playlist for me where she's like, go listen to some of my music, go learn some of my music. If you're listening to this, go put some Arizona in that playlist. I'll definitely give it a listen, trust me. Hayley Kiyoko. Hayley Kiyoko for me is another person who I don't know much about, but I know she's got a very, very good voice. She's one of the only... I think she was the first, and this is something that I want to talk about in a later episode with Liz. I do want to get her on the podcast, and I do want to do like a full-on interview with her, like 100%. She was mentioning it to me. She was one of the first openly gay females in the music industry in terms of this generation, and all the trials and tribulations that she had to go through to be successful, and she's still going through them trials and tribulations. So it's a really interesting subject, and I'd really like to look more into her, and I'd really like to, as I say, get Liz on the podcast so she can talk about it, because she knows a lot more than me. And when she was explaining it to me, I thought it was really interesting. But number 10 on her list is Keane. How random is that? Like, like you got all these people from this generation, then he goes to Keane. Fair enough, Keane. Keane. Like what? Like I wasn't expecting it. It totally threw me off when I saw it the first time. And it's throwing me off now because I was just talking about Hayley Kiyoko and someone who we don't know much about, and then I go to Keane, someone who was in my generation of music. So fair play. Keane are really good. Keane for me are really underrated in terms of like, you know, how much respect that they get for their music. So go check out Keane. I'm losing my words. I didn't read out her list in like order. I don't know if this is in any particular order, so I think it might be actually considering what I'm looking at now. So number 1, Camila Cabello. Number 2, Madison Beer. Number 3, Lauren Jauregui. Number 4, Fifth Harmony. Number 5, Hayley Kiyoko. Number 6, Billie Eilish. Number 7, Shawn Mendes. Number 8, Khalid. Number 9, Arizona, and number 10 we have Keane. There we go. That is the top, like fully just top 10 of what she sent me. So shout out to Liz, really good list. Then again, moving on, another like family member, like Brent. Shout out to Brent who sent me this list. This is another one of like, you can totally tell what generation he grew up in terms of like what he's chosen. A really like out there list for me. Number 1 we got 6ix9ine. I don't need to talk about 6ix9ine. I mean, we've already discussed him so much, and I don't know if this is in particular order, but number 1 is 6ix9ine. Number 2 is Drake. Drake we've discussed quite a lot about on this podcast. He's absolutely killed it this decade, and he's only continuing to grow his brand, and he's only continuing to get bigger and better. Drake. So shout out to Drake. Let's see. Number 3 we have got Travis Scott. Travis Scott for me is one of the most talented of this generation. Give me one moment, guys. I need to take a drink. My mouth is so dry. Ah, there we go. God, how long have I been talking for? I told you this is going to be like a long-ass episode. It's definitely going to go over the 48-minute mark. I think that's our longest episode. Jesus. Where was I? Travis Scott, yeah. Travis Scott, for me, one of the most talented rappers of this generation. I think he's got a really unique voice. He's killing it at the minute in the industry. I've just recently bought a collaboration that I made with Cactus Chat, the clothing brand. It was, the single that I just brought out, the Scots. There was some merch that came out with it. So I bought the vinyl version of that single, and I got a t-shirt as well. So I can't wait for that to come. It looked absolutely fresh. So shout out to Travis Scott. Let's have a look. Who have we got anymore? We got Young Bane. Really good shout out. I quite like Young Bane. I really want to look at more of his music. We got Lil Mosey. He was in the charts at the moment with Blueberry. That's a really good tune. We got Lil Pump. Gucci Gang. Lil Pump for me. Really controversial figure in terms of this generation of music. Do you remember that rivalry that he had with J. Cole? Fucking hilarious. Go check out Lil Pump if you haven't already. If you've never heard of Lil Pump, then you're probably over the age of 35. And you don't need to. I wouldn't call him a rapper. I'd call him more of... I don't know what I would call Lil Pump. I'd call him an anomaly, to be honest. I'm not going to lie. But I quite like Lil Pump, I'm not going to lie. I just think he's just different with it. Coming in at number 7, we got Post Malone. I'm not going to talk much about Post Malone because, spoiler alert, he's coming up later on in the show. Number 8, Offset, part of Migos. Offset, for me, is the best member of the Migos, just ahead of Quavo. Just beats out Quavo for me. Go check out Offset's single work. When he's by himself, absolutely fantastic. And when he's on Migos songs, he really stands out as someone who can just absolutely bring it. Coming in at number 9, you got Biggie Smalls. Biggie Smalls for me is just a complete switch up on this list, like because everyone else came out like really in this generation, but Biggie Smalls from 1997, the Tragic Death, but before that, obviously you had Ready to Die, and then Life After Death. I mean after his death. So shout out to Biggie. We've talked about him enough, especially on the 90s top 5. So yeah, he made it into the top 5, by the way, if you haven't checked it out. Why the fuck not? Go and have a look at it. And then number 10, we got Dave. And we've not talked about much about UK grime and UK hip hop, but Dave is one of the fastest rising stars in UK grime in terms of how he's able, just like his lyricism, and he's right up there with Stormzy for me. And I think he's going to break out into a more international scene, especially because of how much he's killed it on the UK scene. Like his debut album was fantastic, and then he helped to do the I think he helped to do the whole soundtrack for Top Boy. The new series that recently came out last year. He was also in Top Boy as Mobsy. I think it was Moby or Mobsy. Moby Dick. Moby Dave. He's in that show. What the fuck am I talking about? Yeah, go check out Dave. Dave is absolutely fantastic. Keaton, big shout out to Keat. For me, along with Gio, who is coming up in a minute, by the way, big shout out to Gio. But Keat first. For me, this is one of the most unique lists in the whole of this video. Let's check out. I'm gonna read it out really fast just so you can catch something, yeah? Right, so number 1, Eminem. Number 2, Dr. Dre. Number 3, 50 Cent. Number 4, Tupac. Number 5, Biggie. Number 6, Elvis. Number 7, Frank Sinatra. Number 8, Johnny Cash. Number 9, YNW Melly. And number 10, Drake. I never thought I would say YNW Melly and Johnny Cash in the same sentence. Like, that really threw me when I was looking at this list. So let's just take that in a minute, right? Let's just take it in. So in one list we have Eminem, Tupac, Elvis Presley, Frank Sinatra, YNW Melly, Johnny Cash, and Drake. What? I don't think I need to say anything about this list at all. Like, Keat, mate, I've always respected your taste in music, and your top 10 just displays it to me. I really think that your ability to listen to all types of music, a little bit like me, and just appreciate all of it, that's something I've always respected about you. So big shout out for your list. Elvis Presley, man. Elvis Presley is been mentioned quite a few times on different people's lists. I'm not going to go too much into Elvis Presley because what the fuck could I ever contribute to talking about Elvis Presley, what's not been contributed anymore, especially young Elvis. I mean, Fat Elvis is sort of a different story, but young Elvis is just, I don't think there's ever been anyone. I mean, you talk about artists defining a decade. I mean, you could say that about Dr. Dre, the 80s. You could say that about NWA in terms of hip hop. But for someone to define a genre of music is a whole different story. I mean, you talk about Michael Jackson being the king of pop and Madonna being the queen of pop. You talk about Elvis being the king of rock and roll. There's not many other people that have been that can define a genre, not just a decade, but a whole sub genre. It's one of the most impressive things anyone can ever do, and very few people, reach that level of popularity and that level of fame. So Elvis Presley, Johnny Cash, one of my favorite artists. I love Johnny Cash, absolutely amazing. And I knew someone in my high school who used to absolutely obsess over Johnny Cash. His music is out of this world. I love Johnny Cash. YNW Melly, let's talk about him for a second. I mean, we've discussed him a little bit on this podcast. What the fuck is going on with him at the minute? But yeah, respect to for YNW Melly getting on the same list as these absolute legends. So, do you know what I mean? As I say, Keaton, that really shows how much you appreciate music and how much you like to switch it up. But moving on to Gio. As I say, similar list in terms of different genres. I'm gonna read this one out quick again. Number 1, Eminem. Number 2, My Chemical Romance. Number 3, Iron Maiden. Number 4, Wu-Tang Clan. Number 5, Bob Marley. Number 6, Joy Division. Number 7, Muse. Number 8, The Doors. Number 9, Groove Armada. And number 10, The Animals. Fantastic. Gio, you're another person who I really want to get on this podcast and have a talk about your music taste. So I'd really love to save talking about your list for another time, and I probably should have done the same with Keaton. I suppose I have, to be honest. But Gio, Keaton, if you're listening, and I've not given your list as much love as you thought I was going to give it, it's because when all this lockdown is over, I want to get you guys on this podcast and I want to talk about your music and because I really feel like we could have an interesting conversation, especially with you two. Just because your taste in music is very similar to mine, and you appreciate different people's talents. And I know, Gio, I know you you stressed over this list for a long time, and for that reason, as I say, thank you for contributing to episode 10. But Gio, I do want to save you for a specific episode, if that's okay with you. So all your effort is going to pay off. Don't worry. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna just fob you off and just mention you for 5 seconds on this podcast. I do want to have a full on conversation with you. So as I say, I'm not gonna just like go over your list and never talk about you again. So don't worry about that. Moving on to another list. Let me have a look. Rodders, shout out. That's Gilly's dad, by the way. Shout out to Rodders. Really good list. Like once again, just another unique like look on music. So we've got number 1, The Chemical Brothers. Number 2, Radiohead. Number 3, we got Bob Marley. And then number 4, we got Pink Floyd. Number 5, we got 808 State. Number 6, we have got In Spiral Carpets. I nearly said that wrong then. Number 7, Foo Fighters. Number 8, Aretha Franklin. Fair enough. Number 9, David Bowie. And number 10, we have got De La Soul. De La Soul. Fantastic music all the way. De La Soul always get no love. I never hear anyone talk about De La Soul, so it's fantastic to see someone mention it on their top 10. Coming in, Bob Marley as well. Another mention of Bob Marley. How can you not talk about music and not mention Bob Marley? Radiohead and Pink Floyd are 2 bands that I'm not incredibly familiar with, but obviously I know who they are and know the contribution to like the music industry is just unfathomable. Like you can't explain it in 5 minutes. Just a little bit of a spoiler, I will be talking about Pink Floyd with a couple of people on an episode of the intro in a couple of months time, maybe when all this lockdown is over, so I don't want to go into too much about Pink Floyd. Rodders, I'd love to get you on the show and talk about Radiohead if you'd like, if you're listening. 100% I would love to get you on the show and let's talk about Radiohead, because I know you've got a lot to say about Radiohead and I know how much you love them. Obviously you love them because they're on your fucking list. So yeah, Chemical Brothers, a little bit of fact about the Chemical Brothers. They're not from Manchester, but the Chemical Brothers were actually formed in Manchester. They went to the same university, Manchester University, so technically they're a Manchester band. Superstar DJs. So I'm going to claim that for Manchester. You're a fucking Manchester band, and I'll have nothing else said about it. Let's have a look. Shout out to my nephew, Cameron, mate. Absolutely sick list. And as I say, like, this really shows like different generations, like because Cam's only like he's not the oldest member of the community, but like he's got a really different perspective, I would say, on music, just because like I remember being that age and I remember like just like listening like about the time when you're about this age and you're listening to like a specific type of music and you think everything else is just like, I don't want to hear that, and then you really just like you open your eyes and you listen to everything else. I would say he's at that time right now in his life, like just before it. But he's giving me an absolutely amazing list anyway. Let's talk about AJ Tracey. Let's talk about XXXTentacion, Juice WRLD. We've got Posty once again coming up. We've got DTG. We have got YNW Melee. We've got Lil Uzi Vert. We've got Lil Peep. Who else have we've got? Andy Chumpa. I don't know who that is. And then we've got Dave. As I say, that list for me just epitomizes like the younger generation's like view on hip hop. Like fantastic. I'm really glad that X and Peep got on someone else's list, just because Peep's amazing. I've talked about Peep so much, and the winding tragic story of X. Like I can't talk about how much I like X. Like not just his music, but in terms of like his whole story is fascinating to me. Like obviously he had loads of controversies when he was alive, and then other people says he was a fantastic person. So you don't really know the full story of X, and that's why I love his story. But absolutely a really good list again. Let's have a look once again, and then we go to my dad. As I say, family affair. Once again, we're going to my dad, and I don't know if this is any in particular order. Another fantastic list for me. I don't know if there's any in particular order. Yeah, he has put it from 1 to 10. But I don't know. But number 1, we've got Depeche Mode. Number 2, we've got The Smiths. Number 3, we've got Kraftwerk. Number 4, we've got David Bowie, once again making an appearance on someone else's list. Number 5, we've got George Michael. Well deserved, by the way, to be on someone else's list. Number 6, we've got Elvis Presley, once again. Number 7, we got Chester Bennington. Linkin Park lead singer, if you don't know who that is. My dad really likes Chester. Number 8, we have got Michael Hutchins. Let's have a look. Oh yeah, there we go. My phone just went off for a minute then. Number 9, we got Freddie Mercury of Queen. Number 10, we have got Oasis. Oh, and he put at the bottom in no particular order. I should have read that, but I didn't. So, I'm so sorry. Depeche Mode. I know for a fact that that's I'm pretty sure that's my dad's favorite band. If I'm wrong about that, I'd be very surprised. Depeche Mode for me, one of the pioneers of electronic music. You won't ever find someone who's more passionate about Depeche Mode than my dad. So go listen to Depeche Mode. Really underrated. One of my favourite bands. Sadly not making it onto my top 10 this week, unfortunately. But I was really close to putting them on. But then I realised I had to put certain people on my list that I couldn't miss out. So unfortunately they missed out. Depeche Mode, absolutely fantastic. George Michael, one of the best vocalists of all time, along with Freddie Mercury. So shout out to those two people. I mean, they don't need shout outs. Number 1, because they're dead. And number 2, because they'll be more famous than I will ever be in my life. So they should give me shout outs. I don't know how that would work, but whatever. Chester Bennington, Linkin Park, man. Linkin Park. Linkin Park for me are another sort of band who define a genre of music, like in terms of sort of would I call them metal? I don't know. Like what would you call Linkin Park? Because it's not pop punk and it's not metal. Is it just like new age rock? I don't know. I don't know what you would call it. I mean, I know there's like Google give out specific genres of what someone should be, but I don't always agree with Google. I mean, I think they put Blink-182 as heavy metal. I'm like, fuck off, Google. So yeah, big shout out to my dad for sending that list once again. Another older member of the community who is contributing to this list. To this episode. Really, really interested in seeing everyone else's opinions on it. It's absolutely fantastic to see. And then shout out to my boy Gilly coming in again with another absolutely amazing list. Another guy who I really want to get on the show. Coming in, I don't think this is in any particular order. We've got Eminem, Dave Grohl, Bob Marley, Stevie Wonder, fair play. We got Method Man, we have got Mos Def, absolutely amazing. We've got J. Cole, we got Snoop Dogg, we've got Justin Timberlake, and we got Nate Dogg. That list alone does not need any more explanation. I mean, Nate Dogg, one of the greatest vocalists in hip-hop history, in my opinion. Stevie Wonder, one of the greatest vocalists, not just in a genre of all time. Mos Def, one of the most underrated guys in hip-hop, I think. Go listen to Mos Def if you've never heard Mos Def. Please go and give them a listen. Who else did he put on his list? Bob Marley, once again, literally the guy who defines a genre of music, reggae. Eminem has been mentioned so many times on people's lists that you can't understate how important he is to hip hop, not just hip hop but music in general. So shout out to my boy Gilly. I mean, I'm not going a little bit more faster through these lists, but I said I was going to make it a long episode. I don't want to make it too much of a long episode. Justin Timberlake for me is everything Justin Bieber is trying to be but failing. Don't get me wrong, Bieber's bringing out some great music lately, but Justin Timberlake is fantastic. No one will ever be Justin Timberlake ever again. Let's have a look. Oh, God. Take a breath. Take a breath. Let's have a look. Jen. Shout out to Jen. I work with Jen. She last minute sent in the list. Literally, pretty much, I mean, at the last minute. I was like, are you gonna send it? And then I started recording. David Bowie, Ashanti, Rihanna, Queen, Luther Vandross, again getting another mention. Professor Green. Fair enough. 50 Cent, Mary J. Blige, and Drake. Mary J. Blige she's just a staple of music, right, guys? In terms of she's been around for so long, and her voice is so talented. And I think where she really shines, and this is going to sound strange, she really shines for me on features, especially in the hip hop community. I think she's just absolutely fantastic. Ashanti as well. I mean, you may know Ashanti. She worked a lot with Ja Rule. So Ja Rule. Meh. Ashanti, fantastic for me. Professor Green. I didn't expect to see Professor Green on anyone's top 10 ever, but fair play to Professor Green. He's more of a TV host now. He's more of a spokesperson than a rapper. But back in the day, yeah, Professor Green was all right. I mean, I don't mind him. He was a massive up and comer in say 2008 to 2011 in terms of grime. Like, fantastic, really unique voice. Not my favorite grime artist in the world, but you know what I mean. Like, you know, it can't be anything. Rihanna for me. Rihanna is and this is gonna piss some people off. Rihanna's better than Beyonce. I'm gonna throw that out there right now. I think Rihanna is better than Beyonce. I think Rihanna is absolutely fantastic. I think her music, her body of music, holds up more to Queen Bee. By the way, she stole Queen Bee from Lil Kim. I mean, allegedly. I think she did, because Lil Kim was calling herself Queen Bee way before Beyonce was out of Destiny's Child. Once again, Jen, thank you for getting your list in. As last minute as it was, I'm glad you was able to get your list together. David Bowie, as I say, once again, and Tupac, two people who have just been like on everyone's list. I mean, there's a reason for that. Do you know what I mean? There's a reason. 50 Cent, always on people's list, and Drake, as I say, once again, always going to be coming up on people's list, just because of the marks that they've made on the industry. Like, they've been in it for so long, and their body of music speaks for themselves. So fair play for that. And let's have a look. I think I'm missing a list here. Now, let's have a look at the people that were also like mentioned. Like, we got Linkin Park, we got Blink-182, we've got Kelly Clarkson, we've got Lady Gaga, we got Muse, we got Christina Aguilera, we got Pink, and we got Marilyn Manson. I mean, that was only an eight list, but like that list as well, absolutely fantastic. Marilyn Manson is, oh god, Marilyn Manson is a character. His music, I would say, isn't even the most famous thing about him. I think it's his look that's the most famous thing about Marilyn Manson. But yeah, getting a list on there. Blink-182. It's a shame that they didn't make it on my list. I'm gonna reveal my list to you guys soon. Once I get through this last list. But yeah, Linkin Park, as I say, Linkin Park, always going to be one of the greatest of the noughties. Moving on. And last but certainly not least is my sister, Jules. Thank you for finally getting this list into me. I was talking to her last night and she was a bit confused about, wait, can I put like groups on there? And I was like, yeah, of course you can. Like, if you could ever define the late 90s to the early 90s in one list, this would be it, right? But let's say if you could ever define 1997 till 2004 in one list, this would be it. You ready? So you got Dru Hill, you got Blackstreet, you got Destiny's Child, you got 112 or 112. I actually don't know how you even say that. You got Biggie, you got Eminem, you got Jagged Edge, you got Whitney Houston, you got Boyz II Men, and you got Tupac. Guys, is that not the late 90s summed up into one list right there? Boyz II Men. Like, Boyz II Men, right? And, like, I don't think a lot of people know how big Boyz II Men are. Like, especially in the UK. Boyz II Men are one of the biggest boy bands, like, ever. As in ever. I mean, even if you look on Spotify now, they're still hitting, like, 40 million, like, listeners, like, every so often it jumps up to 40 million. And then I think on average, they've got, like, 20. So, It's So Hard to Say Goodbye. Really good tune by Boyz II Men. I really love that tune. Dru Hill. God, Dru Hill. I wasn't expecting to see Dru Hill on anyone's list again. Eminem once again popping up on people's list. 50 Cent once again popping up on people's list. Blackstreet are fantastic. Really good. That tune with Dr. Dre, No Diggity, really good. But yeah, guys, once again, like Destiny's Child, Beyonce. You can't deny how talented those girls are. Kelly Rowland, Beyonce, and the other one that no one talks about. Yeah. But guys, everyone who was mentioned on this list, Blink-182, fantastic. From the other list before. But that's about it. That's all the list that I've got. And thank God for that. That was a journey. That was an absolute journey. I've still got my list to say to you guys. So, I mean, we're nearly at the end. I can see the finish line, but we're not quite there. We're not quite there. This has been a long-ass episode. I mean, don't get me wrong. The episodes are only going to get longer once I get more people on, interviews and all that sort of stuff. But, like, jeez, to talk like this for, like, about an hour is hard. So, my top 10. And this is in no particular order at all. I decided not to put it in order either because it's hard. That's all I'm going to say. So we've got Eazy-E. I'm going to do a list on him soon, just like a whole dedicated episode. Eazy-E. We have got Red Hot Chili Peppers. How that did not appear in anyone else's list, I have no idea. Red Hot Chili Peppers are absolutely fantastic. They're my favourite group of all time. Every single album that they bring out is absolutely fantastic. I really love them. That Carpool karaoke episode is fucking hilarious. Go check out the Red Hot Chili Peppers if you have never heard the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I recommend any of the young people that are listening now, any of you young guys that are listening, go and check out the Red Hot Chili Peppers. You won't regret it. They're absolutely fantastic. I really fell in love with the song called Snow. Back when I was 13 or 14. So, if you're between the ages of 13 to 21 and you've never heard the Red Hot Chili Peppers, go check them out. Fantastic. Eminem, what else can I say about him? 50 Cent, amazing. Dr. Dre, also on my list. The Rolling Stones for me are better than the Beatles. I'm just going to throw that out there. If I had to choose, it would be the Rolling Stones 10 out of 10 times. Go check out the Rolling Stones. I mean, I shouldn't have to tell you to go check out the Rolling Stones. Give Me Shelter, fantastic. Symphony for the Devil, one of the greatest songs ever made, in my opinion. Go listen to Sympathy. Did I say Symphony? Sympathy for the Devil. Go listen to that tune. Moving on, we have got Post Malone. And a lot of people are going to say, how did Post Malone get on your top 10, Reese? And I can tell you why Post Malone got into my top 10. It's because, number one, I tried to choose at least one person from every sort of generation of music. And second of all, how could I not put Post Malone on my top 10 of all time? I mean, a lot of people hate him, a lot of people love him. And there's a reason why a lot of people hate him and a lot of people love him. He rubs people the wrong way in terms of what he does. A lot of people say he sounds the same. I don't agree with that. Why have I put him on my top 10? Because I can name every single song from all 3 albums that he's come out and probably sing them off by heart. That's why. I mean, I don't know how you could not put him on your list when you can do that to every single person, every single song of a specific artist. So it would be stupid if he wasn't on my top 10. Kanye West. Kanye West to me defined the noughties. It was him, Kanye West, 50 Cent, and Eminem. They're the 3 for me who defined a decade. Late Registration, Graduation, and College Dropout. Them albums are amazing. 808 and Heartbreak, and then by the way, 808 and Heartbreak contains my favourite Kanye West song. And then you've got My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. Kanye West, I mean, as I say, a little bit like Madonna. You had early Madonna, who's fantastic, and then late Madonna, who's just about meh. Kanye West in the 90s, fantastic. Kanye West in the 10s, slightly falls off. I mean, Ye was good. That album with 7 songs in it. Ye was fantastic, but he's very hit and miss. Snoop Dogg. We have talked so much about Snoop Dogg. I'm not going to speak about him anymore. But Snoop Dogg is definitely on my top 10. And then number 10 or number 1, whatever order you've put it in, I don't know. As I say, I've not put in any particular order. We got the Fugees. Lauryn Hill, my favourite female rapper of all time. Wyclef Jean, amazing. We got Prass. But guys, we have come nearly, we're nearly at the end. That is my top 10 of all time. I'll go into that in more detail if you'd like in a separate video. Right now, I'm not going to do that just because I don't want to talk his ears off, for years and years and years. But yeah, someone mentioned it to me a couple of days ago, that I should do just a dedicated women's episode, just women in music, because I feel like in our episodes, the women in music don't get enough love, and I agree with that. So in a couple of weeks, I'm going to be doing a women's dedicated podcast or a women's dedicated episode, just because a lot of women don't get enough love, and all the women of the industry deserve to get some love, and all of the all of their projects and all of their talents need to be recognised. So I'm definitely going to be doing that. It's like an announcement there for you. Second of all, guys, I know this has been a longer episode. It's definitely been a longer episode for me. How do you think I feel? I've been sat here. I've been stood here talking to you guys for so long. I hope it's been interesting. It's been interesting to me just to see, as I say, the different ages of people and, the different artists that made it into their top 10 lists and what didn't, and, all that sort of stuff. It really surprised me. So, Shout out to everybody who I mentioned in this video that got involved. Shout out to everybody who's listening right now. You are the guys that make the podcast what it is. I'm sorry, guys, if you didn't get your listen. I gave you enough time. I gave you a week. But as I say, I post it on the Instagram channel and the Facebook channel all the time. So, always keep and pay attention to that. Guys, without further ado, I really hope you've enjoyed episode 10 of the CTR podcast. I really hope you like the direction that this podcast is going in terms of the quality. As I say, we've got an intro and we've got a new logo and we're going to have a camera soon. We're going to have like different things like being introduced every couple of weeks, every couple of months, and then till eventually it'll get to the best version of this podcast. With that being said, if you want to see the progress that's going on this channel, guys, subscribe to the channel, like this video. This has been a really long ass video and it's been fun to do, but it's been hard to do as well. So if you appreciate it, give it a like, give it a share. Once again, subscribe to the channel to hit that bell for the post notifications so you know every time I upload. I will be sharing the video to the Facebook group. Go and join the Facebook group at Chartopper Radio. Request it and I will let you into the group if you want to join the fans only page. If you want to join the official page of Chartopper Radio, you don't even have to request on Facebook. You just have to join it and like it. That is also the same name, Chartopper Radio. If you would like to follow us on Instagram, it is the same name, Chartopper Radio. And we're trying to build the Instagram group. Go and show that some love. Go show everything some love. Shout out to my editor, Jake. He wasn't able to get a listing, but he edits all the videos and does all the thumbnails. Guys, with that being said, we made it. Double digits. The CTR community is growing. We've been going for 10 weeks. And I really, really want to make this a bigger community. I really want to see this channel grow. So show some love to everything. Thank you so much for getting us to double digits. This is all because of you. I am the voice of the people, but you are the voice of the people. And this radio station is the sound of the people. Thank you for listening to the CTR podcast. Take care, guys. Peace.
Chart Topper Radio.